for having us here tonight. I just wanted to run through a brief history of the project and I guess bring you up to speed on the T-hanger construction. The airport has a capital improvement program where every year we program the projects, and this T-hanger construction project has been on there for several years. And one of the reasons it's been on there for so long, I guess, without being constructed is the funding end of it. We looked at several ways of funding this project. The state of Minnesota has a hangar loan program, and that requires the local community to basically pay 100%. 20% is down, put down as a down payment, and then 80% is financed over a period of 10 years. And we looked at doing that option to pay for the hangar. The original estimate we had was about $500,000. And we looked at the debt service on that project and realized that we weren't going to be able to make it happen. So we looked at another funding option, looking at the state of Minnesota, asking them to help fund the project. They typically fund T-hanger projects or anything that would generate revenue at a 50-50% split. So that would mean the state of Minnesota would have paid $250,000 and the city of Rushford would have come up with the other $250,000. Again, looking at a lump sum payment right up front, it wasn't feasible. The last option we looked at was asking the FAA for funds to construct a T-hanger. And typically they do not fund a revenue generating project. What they like to do is make sure you have all of your airside needs taken care of, so you don't have any taxiways or runways or any pavements that need repair. I went through the capital improvement program with Wendy, looked at the different projects, and we determined that we did not have any airside needs within the next 3 years. So we took our request to the FAA. They made us fill out a revenue generating form and then also come up with a business plan. And the business plan showed that we would generate about $9,000 a year in revenue from the different rentals on the T-hanger. And the FAA took those numbers and they accepted the revenue generating proposal. And they've come up with $400,943 to go towards the construction of the T-hanger. And that is at a 95% split, meaning they pay 95%, or the FAA pays 95% of the cost of the engineering and the construction, and then 5% is paid locally. And we actually had a bid opening on August 12th, and that is the letter here I've got, the handout. There were 5 bidders on the project, and our engineer's estimate was $505,000, and the low bidder was Key Builders of Rochester, and they came in at $421,180. If you take the federal funds in the amount of $400,943 and add your local 5%, that comes up with $422,000. So as you can see, we would just make the construction costs with that dollar amount. However, we had engineering costs, that site inspection, review of submittals, a lot of the on-site things that have to take place. Our fee was $57,000 for that. So we had to look at a way to get everything packaged together and paid for under this project. And we've come up with a solution that we had the project broken into 2 schedules, as you can see on this first page of the letter here. Schedule 1 is essentially the building construction. It's all of the foundation work, concrete floor, your structural steel, and your building. Schedule 2 is all the site work. That's all of your excavation, all of your gravel and paving. And our resolution was, or recommendation was, to make award on both schedules to the contractor, the low bid, and only give the notice to proceed for the first schedule this year. Next spring, when we return back, after they're able to start construction again, we would advise to give them the notice to proceed for phase 2, for schedule 2. And by then, next spring, the FAA has said that funding for 2011 will be available, and we'd be able to dip into that to make up that shortfall. So I guess that is the recommendation that was basically taken to the Airport Commission, and Charlotte, of course, is here with the Airport Commission. And
And we have worked well with Matt since, I believe October was when this really got rolling, last October. And upon the opening of bid and his going through all the numbers with us, the Airport Commission does bring a recommendation to the City Council to approve this project. I include the engineering costs for Meet and Hunt to go forward with, as he said, Schedule 1 this fall, and then proceed with Schedule 2 in the spring.
How many of the units have been spoken for?
Excuse
How
me?
many of the units have been spoken for?
Mike, who's the FBO operator, Mike Thurn, does have a list of potential renters. Of course, that's a very fluid list as people either find other spaces for their airplane or looking to purchase an airplane. So at this point, none are, of course, they're not gonna put faith into a hangar that's not there yet, but we have a fairly extensive list of potential renters.
Do you have any comments, Ralph?
I do believe big reason why we split this into the Schedule 1 and 2 was so that we didn't completely tap out our airport funds, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong, but,
Yes.
you know, we have talked about the list of meetings that have been at potential, and that's just something like Charles said, we're going to have to, as it starts to get built, he's gonna have to start calling people. Or when it gets built, he's gonna have to start calling people and say this.
I guess to follow up on that, if I may, Mr. Robertson, the current hangar building has not been empty for very long in the last several years. You know, it'll fill up, 1 or 2 vacancies will commence, and then before long it is filled up again, so.
There was something, if I remember right, that one of our meetings, potential change that we were going to have so many hangar spaces in order to maintain our funding level. And without putting this hangar in, we don't have that.
Yeah, to maintain the $150,000 a year that the city of Rushford gets allocated to the airport, you have to have a minimum of 10 based aircraft. And right now, I think you have a 6-unit T hangar, and there's a private hangar on site. And I believe a couple of the T hangar units have multiple aircraft. With the construction of this new 6-unit T hangar, did have more than ample space on site to maintain that 10 aircraft requirement.
I assume we have to submit invoices for reimbursement?
Correct. Correct. We would probably do payments once a month for the contractor, where we would go through the quantities that they've completed. The city would cut them a check and then fill out a credit application to the state of Minnesota for reimbursement. So normally that's about a 2-week turnaround.
And we would pay 5% of the 293?
Right, you would pay 5% of the total project cost. With construction and engineering, I believe it's like 40.
I'm saying if
Yeah.
you're doing just Schedule 1, when do we pay the 5%?
Correct. When you would pay the 5% actually at the end of the project. Say the contractor has a pay request for $50,000. The city would write the check for $50,000, turn in the credit application, and you would actually hold 5% retainage on that $50,000. And the state refunds you at 95%. So you're actually hanging on to your 5% until the end of the project. So really, you're just carrying that balance for 2 weeks until you get reimbursed by the state.